Welcome to Module 5 on the Greek adjective. This covers Chapter 9 in your Mounts textbook. So what is an adjective? Well, an adjective is a word that modifies either a noun or pronoun. It's what we call adjectival use. But the Greek adjective actually performs more than one function. So while we have the most common adjectival use, it can also be used to take the place of a noun. It can be used substantively. And probably the most famous English example of this is the good, the bad, and the ugly. In which case, there are good people, or the heroes, the good. There are bad people, or the villains, the bad. And then there are people like Dirty Harry, the ugly. Where the adjectives, because of the use of the English article the, is now being treated as if it was a noun. And in Greek, we have virtually the same equivalent. So how are adjectives formed in Greek? You take the stem or root of the adjective. In this case, we're going to be looking at a very common adjective, agathos, which means good. And here is the same word typed out. So this is the stem or the root, and so we're used to seeing something like this with nouns. So here's the stem of the adjective, and then this is what we call the case ending. And it has the exact same case endings as the noun, second declension, first declension nouns that we've seen. So if we divide it up, here is the stem or the root, and here are the case endings, os, a, on. Then you might notice that it actually has a masculine form, a feminine form, and a neuter form. And that makes sense because an adjective is going to have to modify a noun, and we don't know what noun it's modifying. Therefore, we don't know exactly if it's going to modify a masculine noun, like the good man, or a feminine noun, like the good woman. And so it has to be able to have the same case endings as of a noun or pronoun in any gender, depending on what it modifies. So let's go over the form of what we call a 2-1-2 adjective. It's called a 2-1-2 adjective because the adjective agathos uses the case and the second declension masculine endings, the first declension feminine endings, and the second declension neuter endings. So this is, in fact, a 2-1-2 adjective. And we'll go over something called a 2-2 adjective in a minute. And so the endings that agathos use is very similar to the endings that you would see, for example, in logos for the masculine forms. So if I were to write down just the case endings, it would be os, u for the genitive, o for the dative, on for the accusative, and for the plural forms, oi, on, ois, us. And so the next thing, if you notice, is that it does use the exact same case ending. So if we simply fill in the stem, agathos, agathu, agatho, agathon, agathoi, agathon, agathois, agathus. These are all the forms of the adjectives for when it modifies a masculine noun. But what if agathe modifies a feminine noun, then it would use the first declension feminine endings. And you know the endings for the first declension feminine endings. They are a, ace, a iota subscript, ain, I, own, ice, us. And therefore just add the stem, as you did before. Agathe, agathes, agathe, agathane, agathai, agathon, agathis, agathos. And then, as you guessed, how do I form the adjective? It modifies a neuter noun, then you have to use the neuter forms. And so the neuter forms for the second declension are on, o iota subscript, on, on, ois, and if I were to write this out, it would be agathon, agathu, agatho, agathon, agatha, agathon, agathois, and agatha. Now that we learned the form of the adjective, let's see the two functions of the adjective. I'm using Greek as an example to kind of appreciate how the adjective is used. So the first example that we're going to give is an example of what we call the adjectival function, where the adjective modifies a noun and agrees with the noun's case, number, and gender. So ha agathos anthropos means the good man. And notice that since the noun it modifies is nominative singular masculine, the adjective that modifies the noun also has to be exactly the same, nominative singular masculine. So an adjective that modifies a noun is the same, has the same case, number, and gender as the noun it modifies. With the substantive function, the adjective takes the place of a noun, and so the gender number is determined by what the antecedent is or what the adjective stands for. And then also its case is depending on how it's used in the sentence. So if I want to say the good woman is not a man, he agathe uk estin anthropos. So you can hope this he agathe, because it's literally the good, but because it's feminine, it's likely the good woman. Uk, which is not. Estin, he, she is. Anthropos, which is what we call the predicate nominative, a man. And we have the sentence, the good woman is not a man. And that's an example of the substantive use.